Greetings, everybody. Thank you for being here. Welcome to yet another Reading Epic Threads live stream, October 18th, 2021, 8:02 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'm your host, Patrick Gunnels. I am with you live from Dallas, Texas, actually specifically Irving, Texas, and I am absolutely stoked to have everybody here today. I'm at the lovely Texican Court Hotel. And our very own Joe Woodwell, who lives in this area, just treated me to a really nice steak dinner. So, Joe, my friend, that was one hell of a dinner. Thank you so much. I've got a very special guest for you today in Mike Billand, who is Dan Crenshaw's primary opponent. So I'm going to be bringing him in just a little bit. But before we do that, I wanted to do my normal song and dance here, which is to tell everybody that you need your collagen. You genuinely do need your collagen. And that's why every day I take collagen elixir from Isagenix. Collagen elixir from Isagenix. You need collagen for your joints. You need it for your tissues. You need it to maintain a youthful feel and appearance. And so there that is. I didn't bring any apple juice this time. And then Isagenesis PM vitamin pack. You just take one in the morning, one in the evening. It's everything you need. Everything you need. So don't forget that. I take my vitamins. ret.isagenix.com. ret.isagenix.com. Bottoms up, my friends. All right. With that in mind, I'm going to just jump right into this because what Mike wants to talk about pertains to Harris County and specifically redistricting, which is going to apply to a lot of you in other areas of the country. So without further ado, we have Mike Billand, the primary opponent in Texas Congressional District 2 against Dan Crenshaw, coming right up.
Hey,
Mike,
Patrick.
how are you, sir?
I'm doing all right. Thanks again for having me.
Anytime. It's delightful to have you. So for those of you who don't know, Mike and I live in the same United States Congressional District, and we are both very eager to get rid of the odious Dan Crenshaw.
Absolutely. So I know we've seen a good bit about the redistricting process here in Texas, and I just want to talk particularly about.
Can you explain to the audience what you mean specifically by redistricting? Because it can mean different things for different localities.
So due to the 2020 census, it was determined that Texas has sufficient population to add 2 more congressional seats. Now, the state legislature determines where those lines are drawn. Now, with that, though, it's not necessarily in the areas of the population density increases, and there's a lot of lobbying that goes into that. Particularly, a lot of lobbying went into District 2's redrawing. If you look at the old map,
Dan Crenshaw's district, guys. That's Dan Crenshaw's district in Houston.
If you look at the old map, it's kind of was like a curly Q around Houston. Dipped down into Midtown Montrose area, covered Spring, Tascasita, Kingwood, and a little bit farther north of that on 59. Now, the final approved version of the congressional maps, it includes all the way up to almost Cleveland. It includes Crosby now. It includes the south end of Conroe and down to, I think it was 1488, the southern border there. Now, that's a significant shift there. It also includes the Woodlands, which it previously did not. Now, a big issue with this redrawing is, those who don't know, Montgomery County is one of the number one.
Sorry, please continue.
Is all right. Is the number one Republican county in terms of voting, in terms of Republican population. And they've done tremendous work in getting out the vote and making sure that everyone participates, not only in general elections, but in primaries as well. And they are a good and faithful people that are dedicated to the cause, right?
Okay.
And it's almost like with this redistricting, they were punished. And the reason I say that is because when you look at things such as flood relief or other issues that you need federal resources to address, you have to work through your congressional representative. And in the past, most of Montgomery County, I think actually all of it, was represented within Congressional District 8, Kevin Brady, who is retiring now.
Okay.
Now that same county has to address these issues with two different representatives. And the reason it was carved up like that is so that Dan Crenshaw could get the Woodlands, which he knows is a very good rhino stronghold. Not knocking anyone that lives in the Woodlands, there's plenty of good people there. I've been to some events there with some very good people that are not rhinos by any means.
Mm-hmm.
But that population there is typically more moderate and more leaning middle of the road towards left, which fits Dan Crenshaw perfectly. The other side of it too is that Morgan Luttrell lobbied for Conroe and Montgomery because he's from that area, and also Conroe's a larger town that also has some of the same characteristics as the Woodlands does. So they in effect lobbied to split that area up for themselves, not only to shore up their own districts, but to help them in their primary challenges as well. And while doing that, they actually took away the voice of a people. They took away and actually penalized all the hard work that these people have been doing over the past 10 years to try and get out the vote and energize Republicans. And it's just complete BS. There's no other way around it.
Well, is it a fait accompli? Is it already done? Or is there anything that can be done about it?
I mean, there's going to be some court challenges and stuff, but that's really only going to come from the left because anything we do is automatically racist. So that's going to be their complaint. I know now they're already talking about how, oh, well, the largest driver of population growth in Texas is non-whites. And so these districts should be drawn to better represent them. Again, no one freaking cares. Race is not an issue. We don't see color. We see Americans. That's the thing. And they're just going to beat that dead horse and lose. But as it stands now, it's pretty much exactly what the lines are going to be.
Okay. So for anybody who's in the audience who might be getting here late, we have Mike Billand, Dan Crenshaw's primary opponent for the United States Congress in Texas District 2. And what we're seeing right now is redistricting that's going to give 2 extra congressional seats to Texas. And they're redrawing the district in such a way that brings Dan Crenshaw a lot more rhino power. Is that basically what you're saying? Let's start off, Mike, real quick. Tell my audience why Dan Crenshaw is not fit to serve in the United States Congress.
Well, he's not fit to serve as a Republican, that's for sure. I think he'd be a pretty effective Democrat, but he's absolutely not a Republican. He's been stuck on this red flag issue forever, since before he even served in Congress. He says he wants to get out ahead of the gun control issue and control the narrative. My thoughts on that are there's no narrative to control. It's pretty well laid out in the Constitution that it shall not be infringed. That means no infringement. And Dan just sees it a different way, which is the wrong way. Add that in there. But anyway, he's not a good Republican. He routinely votes against us. He routinely acts against our interests regularly. He doesn't take into account his constituents at all whatsoever. You would figure the congressman from Texas would be a little bit more farther to the right than he is with some of his voting. And, I strongly feel that the people of District 2, and I've seen that the people of District 2 do not appreciate how he's represented us in Congress. He does tout the veteran thing. God bless him for his service. Absolutely. But, that doesn't excuse poor governance at all. And
one of the things I saw he completely turned on us when Donald Trump vetoed the National Defense Authorization Act.
Absolutely. That's one of those things, man. It was good that we got out of Afghanistan. It was freaking terrible the way we did it, but it was good to get out of there. And President Trump was working very much so towards ending that endless war situation we have going on. That's basically bolstering an $800 billion a year defense industry. It's American companies, American jobs, all that stuff. But, we don't need to be the police of the world. We don't need to send our, sons and daughters off to die in places that have lived in perpetual conflict since the dawn of time. Doesn't need to happen. And I very much so side with President Trump. Plus, two, the reason he was vetoing that bill is they have so much non-defense related crap rolled up into there that they almost tie representatives' hands to where, okay, well, you got to vote for this because there's all these other good things in there. I don't think that's the way it should be, and I think the way you combat that is you take a stand, like Dan Crenshaw failed to do, and so many other Republicans failed to do on the recent National Defense Authorization Act bill that had the red flag laws in it.
And then there's the fact that Dan Crenshaw is basically in cahoots with those who stole the 2020 election from Donald Trump.
Absolutely. Once you get up to that kind of level, there isn't a Republican or a Democrat. There's very few people that are actually pure of intent and pure of heart at that level. And Crenshaw's one of them. Not a pure one is what I mean there. And he's just an elite. The dude went to Harvard. He grew up overseas. He's an elitist through and through. Now, the reason he sides with those people is because they want to stay in power. And President Trump bucked that power so hard that they threw everything at him. And to say anything other than that there was significant result-changing fraud in the 2020 election is just completely false.
Thing about a guy like Crenshaw, and this is for everybody in the audience, don't focus on what he says. Look at what the bastard does. When the mic is hot and he doesn't know he's being listened to, he's just a garden variety rhino mafia schmuck who thinks of us as rubes. And I cannot get that through stronger than that. I mean, it's just disgusting to see this never-ending treachery from our Congress.
A more candid point that I sometimes address, usually not too publicly, but I'll say it here, is when people ask me, why am I running? Why am I doing this? Why am I taking on Crenshaw? Someone has to do it. Two, I'm not running to get Mike Billen into Congress. If that was the case, I wouldn't be going after Dan Crenshaw. I'm running because Dan Crenshaw is a bastard, as you said. He doesn't represent us. He's not a good Republican, and he doesn't deserve to call himself a Republican or a Texan, for that matter, let alone represent us at the federal level.
Let me show you something. Let me just play something real quick, just to give you an idea what I'm talking about here. If I get it right. Hang on. Professor's record. There it is.
We have societal hero archetypes that we look up to. Jesus is a hero archetype. Superman is a hero archetype. People characters too. I put up. I can name thousands. Rosa Parks, Ronald Reagan.
So, just for those of you who may not have heard the audio, it wasn't super great on that. That's Dan Crenshaw making sure to vividly distinguish between Jesus Christ and real people. He lumps Jesus Christ in with Superman and other fictional characters. You know why? Because he's a swine, okay? He cannot represent us anymore. This is embarrassing. And I'd also like a little help from the rest of you when it comes to the fact that the Republican Party has been foisting nothing but infiltrating trash on us for the past half century, at least. So talk to me about your campaign. How's it going so far, my friend?
It's going pretty good. The shift in congressional districts kind of negated a solid bit of effort. We were focusing a lot of attention in the Spring Branch area of Houston because there's a vastly under-mobilized Republican voter base there. So that kind of sucks. But the ground we picked up in East Montgomery County is definitely going to help. Those are good people. Those are country people. Those are, in my opinion, my kind of people. They're people that support President Trump. They're people that believe in America first, and they're people that vote, more importantly. If you look at some of the voter turnout from the Woodlands, it's kind of weak in the primaries compared to the rest of compared to East Montgomery County, that actually shows up every election because they care about who represents them. So we really believe that's where the W is going to come from on that, and we think that's going to be not an easier battle by any means, but definitely gives us some strategic advantages over that of the Crenshaw team.
Well, I think what we need is a much larger real quick from Brian Cates. They used the same dodge for Crenshaw that they used for McCain, even when McCain was at his most treasonous. You can't attack a man who suffered for his country in a war. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it right now. I'm pretty much over the whole troop / special operations / military worship that has taken place in this country over a long period of time, giving these people a coating of you can't criticize them. It has to stop, because we've realized that these are just people like the rest of us, and the deep state can absolutely co-opt somebody who's been in the military. My God. So there's that. But, I think what we need is a big campaign to get people to go to primaries.
Yes.
Vote against incumbents.
And I think we're there, because I haven't seen people wake up like this ever before. And it needs to happen, because we're at a point now where if we don't win in 2022 and get some real Republicans in, and also win in 2024, hopefully with President Trump again, that's just my personal opinion there, we're going to lose the country. We're very, very, very close to it absolutely being gone 100% as we know it and have known it. And this is the last chance. If we lose, we're just going to become Europe in another 20 years, and that'll be absolutely terrible. But it's going to take people like me, people like my friend Jonathan Houlihan, who's running in 8, people like Brett Guillory, who's running against Wesley Hunt in the new District 38. It's going to take these everyday people standing up and saying, you know what, I'm tired of this. I'm going to do something about it. And that's what we absolutely need to do to take our country back. We've become too complacent with these media darling, elitist, special forces kind of candidates. Not to knock their service. Again, God bless them and thank you for serving, but that doesn't mean you're going to be a good representative. That doesn't mean you're infallible. That doesn't mean you're incorruptible.
I don't know. I don't think there should be a single financial transaction that a member of the United States Congress should be allowed to engage in without every single one of us being allowed to look that up online at all time. I think every cup of coffee should be available publicly. I don't see any reason why they should have any privacy at all.
Funny you say that. Crenshaw had actually sat in on some of the initial discussions of the CARES Act and knew that airlines and Boeing and Amazon were going to receive a significant corporate bailout. And he bought stocks and failed to disclose that information, and he got caught. What happened is kind of brushed under the rug. He did one interview on it. I think it was with like the Daily Beast or something, and it was real softball. They didn't even grill it on it. They didn't even grill on it, and they were just both laughing and everything, and it wasn't a serious thing. And in my opinion, that is incredibly serious. I don't think a member of Congress should be actively trading while they're serving, let alone if they have any kind of knowledge like that. I know that kind of puts a pause on their personal finances, and maybe they can't, engage how they would in the private sector, but that's just something, in my opinion, you're giving up to serve your country in Congress.
The fact that they're doing it and it's not even being covered, Tom Glass put it this way, a friend of mine, very active in Texas politics. He said, Washington is dead to me. We don't actually need Washington. A state that actually wants to go into soft rebellion can merely elect a government that tells Washington their services are no longer required. That can actually happen, and it needs to immediately. I don't know what else to say. It's unbelievable what we've been watching.
People fail to realize the true power that the states have. Any powers that are not enumerated in the Constitution of the federal government fall to the states, and the states have significant power. And that's what, speaking of state issues, that's one of the things I wish Abbott would stand up on. He has the power to shut the damn border down and to actually drive this invasion back over to Rio Grande.
Abbott,
but he
Abbott
does.
proved himself to be a criminal the moment he signed that illegal mask order back on Independence Day 2020. He needs to be held accountable in a criminal court for that. But that actually kind of brings up a really cool new topic that I haven't actually gotten into much. Where do you stand on the gubernatorial election?
Not Abbott.
Anybody but Abbott. That's step one. But you got some people.
I lean towards Alan West. I know him better. I haven't met Don Huffines yet, but I've spent time on the border with Alan and been at a few events with him, and I've only known him to be the most kind, sincere, godly man that I've met. And to me, that says a lot, and I feel like I've gotten a really good sense of his heart. I feel like he'd make a great governor.
I would just say one thing: look into Don Huffines. I was right there with you with Alan West, and then I watched 1 hour-long interview with Don Huffines on the Texas Scorecard, and that man is a true believing, hardcore America First, Texas First patriot, who also is extremely read in on the nuts and bolts of the swamp and how it works. He's the closest. In my opinion, he's the closest thing we've got to it. That said, obviously, I'm going to support whoever the nominee is, whoever the Republican is. I'd even support freaking Abbott, obviously, over a Democrat. But
it sucks that Abbott's just now starting to be the governor we wanted him to be when he has 3 primary challengers. That's the sad thing, and probably a fourth at the end of the week. I think Daniel Miller might announce.
So right now we got Don Huffines, Alan West, Chad Prather, and then I respect Chad Prather because the day that Abbott declared that we all had to wear masks and that he was basically a mafia kingpin, that's the day that Chad Prather got into the race. That was the day that I started lobbying Sidney Powell to run for governor, but whatever. This guy, Don Huffines, he's amazing. I mean, I wish he were a little bit more dynamic, but he's a true believer. I mean, it's really great listening to him.
At this point, it seems like we can't go wrong with anyone else but Abbott.
Yeah. Well, Donald Trump endorsed him and used interesting language. He said he will never let you down, which is, in my opinion, Trump's code for he's under my thumb now.
I'd hope. But, that I love President Trump. I think he's the greatest president we've had in modern history. Mm-hmm. And it's the thing that makes me sad is that you can see how even someone as strong as he is has to still engage with the swamp. We saw in the summer, he sued the RNC, said, stop using my likeness. And now we've seen some real crazy crap come out of the RNC in terms of fundraising emails. I got one the other day. It was like, Mike, you're on the traitor list for not renewing your $45 donation to help beat the Democrats and support President Trump and all this. And the money doesn't go to President Trump.
Who said you're on the traitor list?
The RNC email thing is an email blast they send out, right?
Could you imagine? Can you imagine being called a traitor by Ronna Romney?
Exactly.
Oh my God.
Exactly. They just do that because, one, people think, okay, well, this money is going to go to President Trump. It absolutely does not. That money goes to people like Kevin McCarthy and Dan Crenshaw and Kinzinger. It doesn't go to patriots. It goes right into the Rhino war chest, and they divvy it up. And that kind of stuff just infuriates me. I'm actually having a event about that on, I think it's November the 16th. Yes, November the 16th here in Houston, talking about money and politics and some of these dirty tricks that come about. And how the you shouldn't really give money to the RNC or the GOP at large at all. should research candidates and give them to people that you feel resonate with your beliefs and that motivate you.
I think that some really savage curtailment of the ability of large organizations to give money to political candidates.
Overturn Citizens United.
Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? Because I was wrong about Citizens United at the time. I was like, yeah, well, big corporations, they got free speech too, bitch. Come on, man. And I realized, you know what? The liberals were freaking right about that. Yet another thing the liberals were right about. Just before they took leave of their senses and decided to become religious zealot big pharma fanatics. But you know, that's a different.
It is a damn religion. It's crazy, the whole vax thing and everything. Some people won't even talk to another person if they're not vaxxed. It's insane.
Well, it really is. In the end, it really is just the slave masters making sure that we slaves are constantly at each other's throats. And so anti-vax, vax, that's a great dividing line. They couldn't make black and white work. They couldn't make rich and poor work. But, you know, vaxxed and not vaxxed, we can make that work. Are you pro-Pfizer or anti-Pfizer slaves? Because we can work with any kind of division. As long as we keep it right around 50-50 and you trying to kill each other, at least you're not trying to kill us.
Exactly. And we're all starting to wake up to it that, like, hey, who are these assholes pulling the levers?
Yeah, it's a real small group of people. And we're getting a little bit more wise to it every single day. They're very rich, very stupid people, as Donald Trump likes to say.
They are dumb. They're dumb as hell.
Yes, they are.
It's just they just have a bunch of money to throw at things, and that's how they're. Aside from cheating, the money factor is how they're able to keep doing this stuff.
Well, a certain guy once said, "You give me control over a nation's money, and I care not who writes its laws." My friend, tell my audience how they can support your campaign to oust this Crenshaw character.
Number one thing is spread the word. Tell your friends about me. Make sure anytime anyone mentions Dan Crenshaw, a positive or negative light, bring me up. Second thing, too, is making a contribution to the campaign. We're a grassroots movement. We don't take money from corporations or special interest groups or any of that. I'm not bought by anyone. I'm just doing this because I feel duty bound to do it. Someone needs to step up and take this rhino out.
Where can they donate money?
They can donate on my website at www.billandfortexas.com.
Number 4 or FOR?
FOR.
FOR TEXAS or just TX?
Both, actually.
Oh, okay. I'm going to billandfortexas.com.
Yep.
Bam. All right, let's get that on the screen. Bam. How do you like that? Perfect. Yes, please look into Mike. We need more Mike Billins, way more Mike Billins, because this is not an easy thing to do, to try to stand up to this monstrous machine that cranks out fake conservatives and fake patriots so that they can keep their grift going. So, Mike, I just appreciate what you're doing, sir. Come back on anytime, talk about whatever you like, and we really hope to see you in Washington, D.C.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Patrick. It was a wonderful time as always.
Thank you, sir. I will see you next time.
All right. See you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. My friends, that's a patriot right there, taking on the massive, ridiculous machine. All right. I didn't do my normal say hello to everybody thing. We got a nice cozy stream. I'm joining you from basically Irving, Texas, at the Texican Court Hotel. It's absolutely gorgeous. I love it. And the internet is fast, my friends. All right, so what do you say we take care of a few things? First of all, I'd like to say a big, huge, enormous, super duper thank you to Teddy Share for the delightful PayPal super chat. Thank you. The note from Teddy. I don't trust Janda, who is going on Tracy Beans. I don't know what to say about Dr. Dave Janda. I think he's a patriot, but what do I know? Teddy, you're all right in my book, my friend. Furthermore, one more big thank you to Joe Woodwell for that wonderful dinner you bought for me tonight. I got to meet I got to meet a member of our community today, Joe Woodwell. We ate steak and talked about Freemasonry a lot. That was a great conversation. He's quite knowledgeable, guys. All right. So let us move on to a little thing called Brian Cates. Brian Cates is in the audience of this stream from time to time. So I just wanted to let everybody know, very important to note, adding a new regular stream, a walk down memory lane with Brian Cates, where I will read several columns from my new book, and you can quote me on that. These are columns I wrote back in 2018, and while I'm reading them aloud, I will update everybody on how they apply to recent developments in the Spygate scandal. Not sure how many columns for each broadcast, maybe just 2 or 3, just to keep it under an hour and a half or so. There will be no regular schedule for these streams, but I plan to do about 2 to 3 a week during the day. Link to the first stream, which ended an hour ago. Okay, so guys, don't forget, you've got to subscribe to Brian Cates on Twitch. Twitch.tv. I'll pull up the, just pull up my guy. Here, let's see here. Twitch TV, and I'll pull up my thing. And I'm obviously following Brian. There we go. Draw and Strike 3 on Twitch. Twitch.tv/draw and strike 3. So if you guys could just do us a big favor and follow Brian. So follow Brian on Twitch. You'll find it right here. Bam. Bam. Make sure to check that out. Guys, one of the most insightful guys on the War of the Swamp. You could call it War of the Swamp, the Strange War. When it comes to the machinations of the swamp versus Donald Trump, there is no source better, in my humble opinion. All right, let's keep on going, guys. We have ourselves a thread thanks to Special Ops Kim. Dave's not here at freeatlantis.com. Observations from Maricopa County. I'd like to share my thoughts regarding the 2020, specifically regarding the events leading up to the election. The objective is to share what I saw with others. I won't focus on specific numbers, fraud, or the election process. Others are shining a spotlight on those. Now, what I want to relay, though, is how things looked in Maricopa County at a moment in time. Background. I live in what's called the East Valley, which are the cities east of Phoenix. Think Tempe, Mesa, Gilbert, Chandler, and a few others, which add up to almost 1 million people. Maricopa County is 4.5 million, so it's a large part of the county. Since 1993, I have mostly lived in the East Valley, so I know the area well. For a while, I was involved in local GOP politics at a very basic level and helped a friend of mine run for state representative in the Republican primary. I still have some contacts in politics and media, although I don't focus on it much. What I do, however, is read and observe from a distance. I also learn more about the history of Arizona politics and the meta trends that are ongoing. There are a few people I follow who know more of the ins and outs than I do, who also have a record of being accurate. I also know a few key business leaders who have ongoing contact with high levels of state leadership. If nothing else, I am an observer and an analyst, not a participant. With that out of the way, here is what I saw during 2020. Rallies. Donald Trump has visited Arizona multiple times since 2016. Every time he does so, his rallies are packed. My wife and I were planning on attending one in 2018, but it was completely full by 1 p.m. The rally didn't start until around 7 p.m. Oh, and it was early October, meaning it was still hot when all the people who arrived early were in line. He made other stops, but the story is always the same. Absolutely packed venues. In 2020, he flew into Bullhead City, which is on the Colorado River across from Laughlin, Nevada. The whole area has about 50,000 residents, many of whom are retirees. Media reports were that 20,000 showed up to watch Air Force One land and hear him speak. Folks, this is in the middle of nowhere. We are talking almost 2 hours from Vegas and over 3 hours from Phoenix. Mojave County has around 200,000 residents in an area slightly smaller than the state of Connecticut. 20,000 people showed up for this, which is in the boonies. Those are just the official ones, though I have witnessed spontaneous ones as well. There was a rally that stretched over 90 miles long along I-10 from the California border on back. Don't know how that one got started. This would entail driving the better part of 2 hours from Phoenix to get to the back of the convoy. Unprecedented. There was also a rally in downtown Gilbert that I stumbled across. There were thousands of people milling about, waving their flags, wearing their gear. A massive dump trailer had a Trump banner on it, a parking lot adjacent to Gilbert Road. Totally unexpected and unannounced, yet packed. I also saw people on street corners waving flags and signs supporting Trump. The summer of 2020 was one of the hottest on record. It was brutal through the end of October, yet people still were out in the middle of the afternoon showing their support for Donald J. Trump. When McCain ran in 2008, I never saw this level of enthusiasm. The excitement for Trump was palpable. Stores. Another phenomenon that I witnessed was the appearance of Trump stores on certain street corners. There was about 1/2 a mile from my place, which was in operation for a few months. They were doing brisk business in the middle of one of the hottest Arizona summers on record. This one was always out of certain items, though, meaning either insane demand or poor logistics. I suspect it was the former. At the rally in Gilbert I mentioned, there were smaller temporary stands in operation. You could see Trump items everywhere because somebody was selling it. Don't know if this was all organized by the campaign or not, but there was a brisk business in all things DJT. I've never seen anything like it, even in 2008 with old Senator Maverick running against zero. Signs. When everything was shut down last summer due to COVID insanity, I would sometimes ride my bike through the neighborhood early in the morning. It was a good way to get exercise, fresh air, and see what was going on. There were Trump signs and flags on display at many houses. Republican Senate, House, and state legislature candidate signs were prevalent too. This was all evident to anybody who could see. As for Biden or Democrat signage, very little. A neighbor of mine put up a sign 2 weeks before the election, but nobody else in my street did. I saw maybe 6 signs for Biden all summer. There were more signs for one of the Green Party candidates for Congress than for the Democrat Party candidate for POTUS. I am not making this up. It was bordering on the bizarre. While the East Valley is a conservative stronghold, almost any D candidate will get 35 to 40% of the vote. In the past, I have seen Obama and Clinton signs, not as many as Romney or Trump, but at least a decent smattering. For 2020, you would be hard-pressed to know who was running for president on the Democrat ticket. This trend was even evident in more competitive areas like Coconino, Flagstaff, Sedona, and Pinal, Casa Grande counties. There were a few signs for Biden, but many more for Trump in heretofore battleground counties. So from what I could tell, there was little discernible support for Democrat candidates in general last year. Apparel, flags, swag. There was a lot of visible support for Donald Trump based on the amount of shirts, hats, banners, flags, bumper stickers, and other swag that I saw. It was everywhere, probably because there were so many vendors selling it. We are talking similar levels of support as college or pro sports teams. It was that prevalent. Mailers. This was perhaps the underreported aspect of 2020, the nearly constant mail canvassing. I think I received a dozen surveys/letters from the campaign. One time I got 2 of them within a week. They were asking about the most important issues, what I thought of President Donald J. Trump and the Democrat Party. I sent mine in within a day and suspect others did too. From what I've heard, the Trump campaign had a multifaceted campaign to determine their level of support in various states. Since Arizona was considered to be a battleground, it was one of the states to receive additional attention. There were some ads run on the radio, but not as many as Hillary ran during 2016. My guess is this was intentional because Trump's considered traditional means to be ineffective. I did get a few text polls from various sources during 2020, but I can't remember any from the Trump campaign. The NRA sent me some mailers along with some of the lower-level candidates, but nothing except the canvassing letters for me. It was strange because normally Republican candidates sent out a lot of literature, at least in my experience. Summary. This is what I saw during 2020. It is not intended to be official or authoritative in any way. It is just one schmo's observations, nothing more. However, it should also be considered a small piece of a large and complex puzzle. This is one that is still being assembled and where many pieces are currently missing. My opinion, based on my observations and analysis, there is no way that Joe Biden won Arizona legitimately. The polls, media noise, and such like stating that Arizona was in any way competitive did not square with what I saw. This leads me to believe that there was massive organized fraud in the official election results. I can't prove any of this because what I saw is what I saw. The actual results and processes are outside of my purview. What is increasingly evident, though, is the entire process was dodgy at a minimum, most likely outright fraudulent. Time will tell. It is now a legal matter being investigated by the Arizona Attorney General. The state legislature is likely to get involved again as more information comes to light. Election integrity is a big deal, especially in a growing state like Arizona. My opinion is that Trump won and did so handily. That would correspond with what I saw and could discern in the months leading up to the election. I'm not the only one who believes this. My ardent hope is that the truth will out and the true results will be revealed before 2022. In the meantime, I pray and do my best to remain informed. Family and career demands keep me from getting involved outside of elections, but I do what I can. If anybody else from Arizona has observations on this matter, please share them. Thanks for reading. And that's the thread. Hat tip Special Ops Kim. Very much appreciate you sending me that stuff. All right, guys. Now, those of you who have found a way to subscribe to me on Twitch, I deeply appreciate it. Now, those of you who didn't know, you can subscribe to me on Twitch for free by using your Amazon Prime account. Isn't that exciting? My baby sister made a video explaining exactly how you can do such. Now, it goes a little something like this.
Show you guys how to sign up to Patrick's channel in Twitch with your Prime membership. So you get one free Twitch subscription with Prime. And a lot of us have Prime, might as well support Pat doing that. So I was a little confused, so I thought maybe others might be confused. So I have this cool technology that can record my screen. Don't look at the stuff I'm shopping for. Okay, so just go to your accounts and lists and go, this is in Amazon, and go to your Prime membership. And then you can go to explore my benefits. And I just did a search for Twitch, and then it takes you to Prime Gaming. And then in this area, you can actually connect your Twitch account. And there should be like, right in this area, there should be like a connect your Twitch account. And I did that. So that's why it looks like this. So then I was like clicking around trying to subscribe, and I did a search for Patrick and it doesn't come up with anything, and so I was confused and I was badgering Patrick, and he's like, I don't know, I just did it. And I'm like, you're dumb. So basically we figured out that what you do is you go to Twitch. So I went to Twitch, and in here it doesn't have like subscribe free, which is what Pat was saying it should say. So what you do is you actually click so this is Pat's channel, it's pgunnels. You click subscribe, 20% off. You scroll down and it looks like you have to pay, but actually if you click this little checkbox, you can then subscribe with Prime. And after that I have no experience, so if you do have experience, if you have to like do it every month or something, I don't know. I imagine not, but just comment in the comments after Pat posts this video if you have any more experience beyond that. All right?
All right, my friends. So, in case you were wondering how you could go about supporting me on this channel, you can do it by subscribing here on Twitch. That's one way. Another way is paypal.me/BitcoinArmada. Another is ret.isogenics.com. Get your supplements from there. And then various other things. For example, hey, guys, I don't know about you, but I don't unpack all that well. Here's another thing that's very important. So I have my duffel bag here. And one of the things that I forgot to pull out was my Trump pen. It's in here somewhere. Anyway, I don't know where I put all my stuff, and I didn't come prepared for the stream, but the Q coins, guys. You know the Q coins are important. You got to email jamesmg@verizon.net. jamesmg@verizon.net. We've got this whole Vegas thing coming up, and it's going to be freaking badass. We got Claude Bernardin, Among My People, Joe Pappas, JC Bird, Baldylocks, Guy Smith, St. Richie, Jillian Reese, Epic Jill, Patel Patriot, Matthew Trump, Mermaid Miss K, Mark Conway, Spirit Fox, Special Ops Kim, and the Rattler Gator. So you got to go to James MG. Got to email him, jamesmg@verizon.net. Those bad boys, well, let's face it, they're worth every penny of the $15 you spend on one. I'm going to end up having to do my Trump stuff. I will be found it. Okay, awesome. Otherwise, I got to practice my terrible Trump impersonation. I feel so much better now. Okay, how's everybody doing? What is up, BWeeby5? All right, what we got going on here today? So, from Bob Whiskers. Let me tell you. You know what? I'm going to show you this, guys. This is from Project Veritas. This is amazing stuff. So I'm going to blow this up, and then we're going to do it together. Oh, this one made me crazy. I can't wait to show it to you. Thank you, Bob, for pointing this one out to me. Let me tell you a brief story about resilience. All right. These days, we all need to learn resilience. This is my dad and me in the mid-1980s. Times were tough for our family. To make ends meet, my mom would wake up at 4 a.m. and head into the Bronx to work at a nursing home every day. Sometimes she took me with her. Meanwhile, we lived in a ratty old house in New Jersey, and my dad decided to fix it up by himself, thinking he might rent half of it out. The house was in such bad shape, it was almost condemned. My dad solicited the help of my grandfather, James O'Keefe Sr., to perform a miracle. My grandfather was dyslexic, but could build things out of nothing with scrap materials salvaged from the side of the road. So that's what he did. The three of us began working when I was 5. In the beginning, I would just hand them tools. My father was, to this day, the hardest working man I've ever met. People in town said things couldn't be done, and he either found a way or he engineered a way. He did everything himself and was intensely focused and driven to get the job done, so much so we didn't make small talk while working. As I got slightly older each year, I was forced to do more than hand them tools. My grandfather would say to me, "You see, Irish," as I stuck my arm down a disgusting pipe or shoveled dirt, "you must do what it takes to survive." I didn't understand. He would monitor each swipe of a paintbrush and supervise me scraping 100-year-old wallpaper off of a wall. It was dirty work every weekend, and some nights after school, I spent some of the time dancing around and daydreaming. When the house was finished, it was such an impressive achievement, the state of New Jersey gave my parents an award. Later on, a house fire came and destroyed most of what we spent so long building and restoring. Basement fire renders two-family house uninhabitable. People in town again said the house couldn't be saved. My grandfather told my father, "It'll be okay. We'll bring it back." He moved in with us and commenced work. Putting Things Right, photos by Ed Marr. For the next 2 years, my sister, my mother, and my father went back to work doing much of the same work all over again. My grandfather effectively never retired. He lived at home in the attic and stayed by my dad's side, working on ladders and putting up sheetrock until his stroke at 80. At 25, I was arrested by the FBI and stood falsely accused. A political prisoner for the investigation into Acorn. Released from jail, I spent 3 years on federal probation, confined in New Jersey under federal supervision with no organization and no money. I needed a place to land. Caption: O'Keefe, James O'Keefe III, walks out of federal custody with nothing but carbon copy papers of his pretrial release terms. The FBI confiscated his iPhone, his wallet, and his belt. A federal magistrate judge would later order the SD chip and its video recordings destroyed. The U.S. attorneys involved in the case all resigned for anonymously blogging in the comments section of the New Orleans Times Picayune about the defendants they were prosecuting. The prosecutors' violations of federal ethics laws were so egregious that they would one day be used as a what not to do example in the curricula prepared for U.S. attorneys. The carriage house garage, that was the thing that began my life, with my arm down sewage pipes and scraping off paint chips. It became the first Project Veritas office. Unable to travel, I shipped the cameras to others. Origins. Caption: O'Keefe started Project Veritas in his carriage house in his native Westwood, New Jersey. Project Veritas was born and expanded into a new building in 2015. My sister was the architect. And while the new office was destroyed in a flood in 2021, life has taught me this is just the beginning. Resilience. Pass it on. God bless. James O'Keefe III. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I'm really excited about going to the Patriot Double Down. It's going to be a lot of fun. There are going to be a lot of luminaries there, not the least of whom is going to be our very own Patel Patriot. He will be doing a speech there, and we are going to be there with Mermaid Miss K, the Rattler Gator. St. Richie will be with us. Matthew Trump will be with us. And Anybody else I'm missing on the list of people who are going to be joining me? There might be some. Mark Conway, are you going? What's up, Joe Woodwell? Thanks again for the guys. Joe and I had my very first garlic stuffed filet mignon. I've never had a garlic stuffed filet mignon. Thanks, Joe. That was awesome. Whoa. Yep. Juan 07 is going to be a speaker for the Patriot Double Down. I remember him pushing it. So yeah, he'll be there. It's pretty exciting stuff, guys. All right. So I'm excited. I'll do another like bonus stream tomorrow just for no reason, and I'll figure out a way to make this trip worth your while, because I sure do appreciate everybody sending me on this trip. You guys basically over time popped for the cost of this. It's been a lot of fun, all of it. Richard Rohr, I don't think Patrick's robe is a pride robe. Isn't it a Mexican color thing? All right, let's check out. Let's see if it's a pride robe. Is this a pride robe or a Mexican robe? This is the Texican court. Texican. So I'm sort of Texican. A little bit of a gringo, though. Anyway, not a pride robe, Mexican robe. I should wear this at some point. I don't know. I'll put this on at some point. It's going to come in handy. It's authentic regional home skillets. No, I'm getting more pride robe. All right, so Dolinik, what's up, bro? So I caught my tadpoles today. I'm also raising common goldfish in an outside pond. In a month or so, if they live, the tadpoles are going to become frogs, and I'll release them back into the wild. Gringo. You're the gringo, Dolinik. All right. By the way, the word gringo, we're not totally sure where it came from. One explanation is that it's Mexicans imitating a song that certain Irishmen would sing that had the phrase green go, the color green and the verb go right next to each other. But that's just a guess. They don't really know where that word comes from. Green go. That, like I said, that's one guess, and it could be. Well, Juan 07 should be that he'll be. He will be there in person, Jerry. All right. Are we having a good time? I think we're gonna round out, because I'm gonna go to bed smoking early, like crazy early, and it's gonna be a fun time. All right. I think we're gonna get to see Juan 07's face. I think that's the basic gist. And I think that there's gonna be some surprises. All right, guys. Once more, paypal.me/BitcoinArmada. JamesMG@Verizon.net. Get these while you can, my friends. And you just subscribe if you can here on Twitch. That's always very much appreciated. And of course, we might be getting close to angelpace.com promo code Shapiro territory. So check that out. And then ret.isogenics.net. In any event, thank you all for being here. I'm going to go ahead and round out the stream, and let us pray. Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, cast into hell Satan and all evil spirits who prowl about the world seeking the ruin of souls. Amen. Thank you all so much for being here. I love every last one of you. See if I can get us on a raid here. All right. I don't think there's anybody to raid, so we're just going to call it a day. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you tomorrow.
I will be the greatest president that God ever created.